We're here for Fireside chat on the future of digital banking. May I invite Ramachandran Thavasimuthu? Please welcome him. So Ram, as he's called, is head of digital banking at Tagit. So Ram has 15 years of experience in the industry across some of the bigger brands, HCL, Temenos, and then he finally ventured into Tagit, which is a FinTech. We spoke about a FinTech a lot. So Ram, very, very warm welcome, and thank you so much being with us. So just a quick introduction to Tagit. Tagit is a very interesting digital platform company. They have a platform called Mobix. And Mobix, as it's called, Mobile Application Development Platform, is one of the innovators, and they are very, very well funded by a couple of large private equity as well as Singapore government. So Singapore government even gave them early capital and being part of the journey. Ram, digital banking, and you guys very much started it a few years back in this part of the world, Southeast Asia. So if you can just tell us, when it comes to digital banking and Mobix, what does your product do?
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me here, Chetan, and good afternoon all. So to give a little bit about our portfolio, we are a fintech-based product innovators, innovating the digital banking solutions from retail, corporate, onboarding solutions, and having a development centers across India, Philippines, and Singapore. I think to give a little bit summary about our portfolio, our products handling 100 billion plus annual transactions with 250 million active users as of today when we are speaking. So we own our proprietary platform called Mobix, which is a business agnostic platform. By using the platform, we provide the product suites for retail banking and corporate banking and onboarding solutions, which enables the out-of-box implementation for the bankers who wanted to go to market very quickly. So that's where we play stronger in our portfolio.
Very, very interesting. So when you look at the digital banking and traditional channels, right, people are used to being in branches or do internet banking. How do you see this changing for branches and agency because of some of the innovation you're bringing?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. While the digital banking transformation is just, growing a lot, especially in India and across the world, while thanking to COVID for this transformation across the world, but I would say that, the transformation started from the demonetization which happened in India. That's where people started to think very differently about holding a currency in hand versus, using it in a digital way, right? Definitely not a positive thought for black money holders, but for a general crowd of people, how they use the bank, branches, or a digital currency, how they utilize, it starts from there. So using the branches, it's a very interesting touch because the branches are played a stronger role in the industry when it comes to banking. Coming from the background of, if you go a little history for the past, 50 plus year experience, anybody wants to do any transaction or anything from a banking perspective, it starts from a branch, correct? You start from creating an account or doing a fund transfer or taking a money, anything and everything starts from branch. But now, when digital enter into the space, the play is becoming different now. I can give you a few examples of how this transformation is happening and how it connects to the branches. Take QR code as an example. Yeah? 10 years before, the QR code was a nifty puzzle for the larger crowd, not for the tech savvies. But today, if you see, QR code is as common for everybody. Everybody knows that the QR code handles their account details and just that, right? That's how the transformation starts. And you take check as another example. 10 years before, I remember still my father was asking me, hey, look at my signature is equal, right? Because now it will get pounded back if it is not correct. But today, if you see, the check leaves are just used for a cancellation to ensure the account number is correct, right? The purpose is getting changed totally. In the same way, what I am seeing is the purpose of the branches will get changed eventually. Not drastically, it's not going to be an overnight or within a year change, but eventually it will start to get changed. When I say the purpose, earlier when it was used for account opening or onboarding the user or any fund transfer or taking the money or holding the payments, everything was happening in the branch level. Going forward, what will happen is the branches will get shrink with the tight focus of, maybe the locker services where we don't have a solution today, right? The locker services, definitely the users has to go to the bank. There's no other way, right? And for submitting some of the documents with the by-person signature or addressing the grievances, or the larger crowd would require a personal way of, seeing the interaction with the banker to raise a confidence, right? So these are the very purposeful shrinking will happen at the branch level. That's how I see with the onboarding of, digital experiences today.
Very interesting. So when you look at, again, some of the journeys you've done out of Singapore, Indonesia, and then India, and you have been one of the largest player with some of pretty large banks.
Yeah.
So if you compare, is it digital channels similar across markets, or are these markets having a very different need if you have to take a couple of use cases and compare?
It's a very interesting point. So while the digital banking is wider across the world, the experiences would require different ways. And don't go beyond India. Even within India, we require a different kind of experiences with a different kind of segments of people, right? Even within India, we can just easily classify tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 customers where we have to provide the different kind of experience for them. While I always, believe that the engagement may be different, but the experience has to be same. And I can just go back to the same experience of QR code, right? You take QR code, the engagement would be different. When I say engagement would be different, there is a lot of awareness need to be created across the population, right? Then once the awareness is created, once that engagement is successful, then experience is same. So using the QR code, experience starts from CIOs, CXOs, until the street vendors. It's same across the world, right? So when it comes to that kind of segmentation, even within India, there is a good amount of population which requires understanding of the systems, correct? So in that perspective, we require a different kind of apps which can be done only with a combination of fintechs and the bankers on what kind of experience they wanted to provide. Say an example, the farmers or agriculture segments would require a very light app, right? They doesn't require a huge super app which involves investments, mutual funds, etc. Then if they require just to understand what is their balance, right? Or how they can apply for a lending easily through the app. For an example, you take Axis Bank. They brought the Bharat Bank as a good innovation, which exactly focusing on the farmers and agriculture industry, which enables the difference in the kind of engagement to deal with a different kind of people. So that's where the starting of the difference comes in place.
So with these many different apps and channels, there are so much data getting generated. And Felipe spoke earlier in the day about bank needs to find a way to analyze this data and make it meaningful customer insights and then use it to create value propositions. So when you are doing the real life projects and you and your team are helping some of the large banks like Axis Bank and all with these kind of innovations, how or what is the advice you have for banks? How should they do their data analytics and customer insights program?
Yeah, the data is very important. I think in our previous sessions also, people were talking about the data, the importance of the data. Today, with the digital steps into the industry, the data is wider. You can capture any data, right? Every data. But it's all about how are we going to use the data. That's where the analytics comes in place. Today, in a typical banking, what happens is the digital capture all the information. Then the banks have their own MIS team to collect certain type of rules and then ask the MIS team to drive out the information of, okay, what is the output for rule number 1, for an example? How do you identify the customers using more foreign currencies and foreign transaction who's traveling a lot? Or how the customers is spending money through the vacation, for an example, when May comes, India, just not only India, across the world, they just go towards the vacation or even December comes. So that's where the analytical starts. And the user journey is also, involved in there. Like, how frequent the user is clicking to certain investment page so that, the customer segmentation can be, broken down by using the data, and then the personalized product suggestions can be given. And more, this would help the bank to go to the next level. You may find it crazy, but this is how the bank is going to evolve, where today, when the bank is suggesting the vehicle loans or home loans, tomorrow you will be wondering, banks would be suggesting the vehicle itself and the homes itself, right? That's where the banking is going to evolve a lot from intrusion of the digital banking.
So when you look at it from a product company's perspective, right, that you have to personalize the customer's experience. And there are so many eventualities and opportunities. How does a product company prioritize what do you build? And whatever you build, how do most optimum way to take it to your customers as a banks?
Very interesting point. If you take our products, for an instance to compare, our products are a microservices architecture product, which is scalable on demand and expandable and extensible, which is very important. Because when we are a global providers, but strong presence in India with Axis Bank, Citi, and implementation is going on with the Saraswat, the requirements coming differently, especially to connect the very good example, the RBI guidelines, right, today. The RBI guidelines or the government guidelines would change from industry to industry and country to country. That means, as a FinTech product innovators, our product has to be extensible, easily to adapt the guidelines. Because when the RBI changed the guideline, our product should be able to implement the guideline quickly. So that's where the extension comes in place. This is where we are successful with our banker partners.
Interesting. And when you look at one or two technology advancements in near future, which you believe will hugely change the way digital banking is embarked in India, again looking at Southeast Asia and some of the other experiences of yours, what would they be?
I think I'm very happy to connect the dot with the UPI. That's how the India is growing from a digital banking platform. I think 5 years back, except the tech-savvy group, nobody would believe that UPI is going to hit that kind of mark today, right? And And when UPI is going into that kind of layer, that ensures and encourages the fintechs that the technology evolution is going to be very stronger in India market. While Aadhaar is connected to all the systems, UPI is holding a great responsibility in the market. And interestingly, this is where the customer engagement is also coming. While UPI has become successful in a factor, now you see the next step of UPI is coming with a lighter app of anything just go below 200 transaction. It's a straightforward transaction, right? That's where the UPI Lite is coming in place. So this is how the technology innovation is going to be evolved more. Especially, you take the chat systems today. In a customer apps, you wanted to chat with the banker. The AI is handling. Today, the AI is not so good from a current standpoint, right? You click 1 for something, 2 for something, 3 for something. But the evaluation happen in the AI perspective today, it's going to be very intuitive conversation, right? Even with human or without human, the system should be able to handle the banking needs and the queries. For an example, through the conversational banking, which is going to be getting more stronger, where the chat AI is proven very strongly today in the market. At the same time, the data analytics that we are doing from a MAS or operations perspective, which will be handled by AI strongly. So that's how I see the technology innovation is going to happen. Again, this can be grow in a very stronger and more intuitive way by having a bankers and fintech sit together and then innovate the solutions.
So very much you're saying, one, peer-to-peer and the products around it. Second, conversational, voice banking, supported by ChatGPT kind of innovations is what's going. Now, given that it's such a huge growth, which you saw earlier in my presentation, and multiple channels growing at a faster speed, there, of course, has to be challenges, right, which banks have to be prepared for. So what do you see as a couple of challenges while implementing product like yours, which banks have to go through, and how can people prepare for it?
Okay. So first of all, bank has to decide about what kind of infrastructure they want and how it has to be scaled. It doesn't require that everybody follows cloud, everybody has to follow cloud, right? Or if in a traditional way, if you're sticking to on-premise, should we stick to on-premise going forward? It is not required. So the value proposition comes in place where the right evaluation happen at the level of infrastructure and the level of UX investments they wanted to play, and the level of segmentation of products that they want to invest. For an example, like I said, the light app versus the super app experience, right? So that's where the bank has to be more clear about where they want to invest and how they want to grow from a technological aspects. That is what would define the stronger growth. Like you said, the 71% of the growth which we are expecting within 2025 on the digital banking transactions, that means bank has to be ready for that investment. Because I do understand the investments on the technology side is lesser in India, which is growing for sure, but it has to go furthermore from a stronger technology aspects.
So that's a very, very interesting perspective, because earlier in the day, I heard one of the senior banker telling me that the bank, which is a tier 1 bank, has decided that they'll call themselves a technology company. They also do banking. So I'm glad that your thought process echoes the same spirit. So I think we are running out of time now, but thank you so much, Ram, for very, very interesting insights, and wish you all the best in your product journeys to bring further more product innovations for the banking community. Yeah. Thanks, sir.
Thank you so much.